All right, so today we're going to be learning about the distributive property. So we won't be in your book. What I'm going to do is just kind of teach you on paper how to do this. So if you could get a piece of paper out, that's what you're going to be taking your notes on, and that's what you're going to be turning in today. So the distributive property. So to distribute, let's talk about some words here. Distribute means to pass out. Okay, so the scenario that I give kids is I say, think of friendship bracelets, right? You have 5 friends, okay? And one of you is the one that makes these bracelets to give all your friends. Well, if you give one to one friend, you got to give one to the other friend and the other friend and the other friend. That way nobody feels left out. Okay, now this sense of left out is where kids make errors. Okay, so we can distribute numbers as long as we pass them out evenly. And that's going to be the key here. Think of trick or treating. Think of these little kids at your door. You have Spider-Man, you have Little Mermaid, and you have, Thor, right? Well, you don't want to give only Spider-Man and the Little Mermaid the candy, and then you just tell Thor to go away, right? That's not fair. You want to pass the candy out evenly. So when we're doing this, we're going to be passing the numbers out evenly, or the variables out evenly, which is what it's going to come to. Okay, so here's what you're going to be doing to start. So it says, write what each customer ordered and calculate how much was paid for each order. So this goes back to the little in and out scenario that we started with at the beginning of this unit, right? You have these hamburgers. And remember that the H stands for hamburger, right? And then the F stands for the fries, right? So what we do is we're going to distribute or we're going to multiply, right? Remember that you've been taught that there's a multiplication symbol in between those, right? So 3 times the $1.85 plus 3 times the $1.25. When you simplify is what we call that. We do 3 times $1.85 and you will get $5.55. If you do 3 times $1.25, you get $3.75. If you add those, you'll get $9.30. Okay, so now we'll move down to the second one. Remember that there's multiplication right there, right? So the beginning stays the same. 3 times $1.85 plus the $1.25. Well, you need to distribute or multiply this 3 to that 185. So that becomes your $5.55 plus the $1.25, and you would be paying $6.80, right? All right. Now, here's how you're going to be seeing this, right? And that is how it's going to look from here on. And you're going to need to understand, one, that the parentheses mean to multiply. And what happens is you need to multiply this 3 to the H and the F, right? So you could do this in multiple ways. Some of you might want to do the parentheses, right? You'll add up the parentheses and then multiply that to 3. That works. You could also just do it step by step, which is kind of what I did just to be consistent. Okay, so I did 3 times the $1.85 plus 3 times the $1.25. Okay, so I kind of brought it down here. You got 3 times $1.85 and 3 times $1.25. When you simplify or you multiply them, you get $5.55 and $3.75. You add them and you get $9.30. So it says, which 2 customers ordered the same food and paid the same price? So the answer to that, I'm going to use a kind of different color here, is going to be this customer and this customer, right? You got the 930 and the 930. So just keep in mind that it can be written like this, or it can be written like this, and they are equal. Okay? So here's some other things for you to know before you start kind of writing anything down. We will go over some examples in this video. So what if we order in a more organized manner? Okay, so what if I did this a little bit different? And I did, okay, well, there's 3 cheeseburgers, 3 fries, and 3, what is that? A small drink, right? So this 3 would multiply to the C. This 3 would multiply to the F. and this 3 would multiply to the S. Now keep in mind, 3 times C is the same as 3C. 3 times F is the same as 3F, and so forth, right? So you got to kind of remember that. So these parentheses mean to multiply. Now you can also solve the numbers in the parentheses, like I said earlier. Then you can multiply the numbers. So regardless, you're going to get the same answer. So you could do 3 times 4, and then you can do 3 times 2, and then you could do 3 times 3 and add those. Or what a lot of you are going to do is you're just going to want to add those in there and then multiply. So 4 plus 2 plus 3 is 9 times 4. Now that will work when you do not have variables. So you can use the strategy that I just showed you, which I know most of you will want to use, until you have something like what we saw right here. You would not be able to do that here. Okay, so you would need to multiply each one to each variable because you cannot combine numbers and you cannot combine letters that are not the same, which we'll talk about more next class. But I just want to kind of point that out. So here's where you begin. I want you to work these out with me, and we will do 9. Okay, the beginning of this is super easy. The end of this is how your homework on Khan Academy is going to look. That's why I added those to this. Okay, so for example, 3 times 5 plus 8. So you could technically do 5 plus 8 times 3 because there's no variables here. But I'm going to just kind of write this out. So 3 times 5 plus 3 times 8. So please write that down. 3 times 5 is 15. And 3 times 8 is 24. If you add those, you get 39. Sorry, guys, that should be 39. It cut off. Okay, now we'll practice here. So this is the same as 26 times 2 plus 26 times 3. Well, 26 times 2 is 52 plus, and then that 26 times 3 is 78. When you add those, you get 130. So please write that one down. All right, now here's where it switches up. You could not simplify the inside. You could not do H and F. Those do not go together. So the letters can only go together if they're the same letters. So H and F, you know those are not the same letters, I would hope. So this becomes 4 times H plus 4 times F. So you get 4H plus 4F. And that's your answer. You cannot combine H and F. You would leave that. That is how you would stop, or where you would stop, I guess I should say. All right, now I have number 4. This becomes 6 times X plus 6 times P. So 6 times X is 6X plus 6 times P is 6P. That is your answer. You cannot put X and P together because the letter is not the same. So now I'll show you it with some subtraction. I want you to know that you can do this even with subtraction. So for that first one, you technically could do 9 minus 6 and multiply that to 4. But I'm going to just kind of keep going. So 4 times 9 minus 4 times 6. Now keep note, this minus needs to stay. You need to keep the sign or the operation that is in the variable. That does not change or go away. So this becomes 36 minus 24. Well, 36 minus 24 is 12. All right, now this number 6 is different. You need to do 7 times F, and you need to do 7 times H. So 7 times F minus, because there's a subtraction sign, 7 times H. So you get 7F minus 7H, and that is your answer. So 7F minus 7H. Please write that down. All right, now same here. This 8 needs to multiply to P, and this 8 needs to multiply to X. the minus sign stays. So this becomes 8 times p minus 8 times x. So we get 8p minus 8x, and that is your answer. You do not do anything else. So now here's the more challenging stuff. Here's what you're going to see on Khan, right? So this is how your homework will look when we get to it in a little bit here. So here's what you do. This becomes this 3x and this 2y, they stay together. Those don't separate. Okay, you got to keep the x with the 3 and the y with the 2. So what this becomes is 2 times 3x plus 2 times 2y. So you don't want to leave out the 3x, and you definitely don't want to leave out the 2y, which is commonly what kids do. They forget the second one. All right, so that becomes 2 times 3. Well, 2 times 3, you know, is 6. And then you keep your variable, 6x. Bring down your plus sign. And then you have 2 times 2 is 4. And then you keep your variable, y. So that is your answer. You cannot put x and y together because the variables are not the same. So now here is a couple on Khan that I saw, and I wanted to go over one before I just leave you to that. So here's what happens. That 1/2, it multiplies to 4y. That 1/2, it also multiplies to 8x. So 1/2 multiplies to that, and it also multiplies to that. Okay, so we're worried about the numbers. The y and the x, they just follow, right? So let me kind of do it over here. So 1/2 times 4 over 1. If you multiply straight across, you get 4 over 2, or 2. So this becomes 2y. Now I need to multiply 1/2 times 8 over 1. Multiply straight across, and you get 8 over 2, which makes 4. So this just becomes 4x, and that's your answer. 2y plus 4x, and you do not combine those. So now what you're going to do is you're going to turn in your notes, and then we're going to start our practice together.